let me take you back 2 months, just 2 months.
Okay.
From that point to today, what has it been like?
Since June 1st when we announced,
Yeah.
it's been really good. It's been better than I thought, Mark. I got to be honest. I mean, I got into this because I care about Arizona and I was worried about the direction it was going. And we announced, and the media criticized us. Oh, wasn't smooth enough. It didn't happen on the right day. It didn't happen at the right time. And the response was so overwhelming. I think it was about 24 hours after we announced, somebody was at a protest somewhere. And they took a picture of a young lady, probably 16 years old, who had made a homemade Kari Lake for Governor sign. And I thought, that's a really good, that's a good sign. We haven't sold any signs, but here's somebody who's young, probably 20, 25, made a homemade Kari Lake for Governor sign.
So lots of people want to make a difference in the world. You've chosen to go for it all, the governorship. What do you think you bring to the job that makes you more qualified? And let's just stick with the primary field that you have to run against right now. What makes you feel as though you're qualified to do this?
To take those guys on?
Well, to take on being the governor of the state of Arizona.
I think covering the state for 27 years. I drove into town in 1994 and I immediately started my love affair with Arizona and the people of Arizona. And I know we worked together back in the 90s and I've always connected with the people here and felt like it was home for me. And as I've watched the state change and gotten to cover the issues for so many years and covered politicians for so many years where they say one thing, they do another thing, or they get into office and they bring all of their political favors that they owe on day one, they put those people into all of the key positions. It's just been disappointing. I think Donald Trump struck a chord in me and millions of other Americans that you don't need to be a politician to be a governor, a president, a senator, a congressman, a school board member. You need to have passion and love for your country and your community. And that's what we need in this country right now. People are really worried about the direction, not only that their communities are going, that their state is going, that the country is going.
Arizona, like many other states, is very polarized. What do you think, and you bring up Mr. Trump, do you think we need our next governor to be somebody who reaches across the aisle and tries to work with the other side? We have some massive issues to deal with, and I will get to those in just a second. But I wanted to get a sense from you, because I've known you, and the Kari Lake I know is this outgoing, charming, very intelligent person who was a team player when we worked together in the 90s, striving for the success of everyone. But I do see on these Facebook ads sometimes that there's a sense of divisiveness, us against them. We have to do this because we can't tolerate them in any way. How do you balance that? And do you think it's important to be able to work the other side when you become governor?
My special interest group will be the people of Arizona. That being said, we do have a small segment that I believe are socialists and hinging on communists. I don't believe that the Democrat Party originally was that way, but there's a small segment that has really pushed it to the point where even lifelong Democrats are looking at the party going, this is not the party I've been a part of my whole life. And I'm really worried about where that part of the party is dragging us. When I say don't California our Arizona, you look at California, which used to be heaven and now it's turned into hell, frankly. I don't know if I can say that on television. It's a hellscape over there. And that is decades of Democrat rule under Gavin Newsom and others. And I'm not prepared, and I don't think people of Arizona are prepared to see that kind of policy and leadership drive Arizona into the ground. It's not going to happen. The majority of people in this state, I believe, are conservative or somewhere in the middle. And even if they are Democrat, they don't like the direction this state's going and this country's going. They're really concerned about it.
You talk about...
Let me just finish real quick.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Defunding the police. We're seeing this right now. We're seeing this push for defunding the police. It's unacceptable. There's nobody in any neighborhood, whether it be the wealthiest neighborhood in Paradise Valley or the poorest neighborhood in you name which part of town, that wants the police defunded. They want their children protected just as much as the rich people in Paradise Valley want. And the Democrat policies are destroying this. And I say Democrat, but I really mean socialist, because this is what we're looking at with somebody like Katie Hobbs, who was in charge of this 2020 election, which was a debacle. And I know that the media's not covering it. I know that they're calling it a bunch of people with tinfoil hats on, and that's not what it is. I've been down there.
We'll get, if we have time, we'll talk about that.
But I just want you to know, I'm out there every day. I've covered northern Arizona this week. I've been talking to rallies. I'm drawing some crowds. People are concerned where this state's going, and the Democrat Party, which has been taken over by the socialists, communists, Marxists, you name it, are not representing the people of Arizona.
What do you think the people who were at the January 6th rally in Washington, and it included a former state representative and a current state representative, is that representative of Arizona too? Do you let me ask you, what is your thoughts about that day?
January 6th, I want more information. There's 14,000 hours of videotape that the federal government has that would clear up a lot of questions. A lot of people who love President Trump were busy listening to President Trump when all this was going on. I've seen video, it hasn't been covered in the mainstream media, of Capitol Police, and Nancy Pelosi's in charge of them, welcoming people in. Come on in. There's a lot of stuff that didn't smell right on January 6th. I'm a reporter at heart. I mean, I used to sit where you're sitting. Back when I was doing it, you looked at both sides. You didn't just go, what's everybody saying? What are the Democrat talking points? What's Nancy Pelosi want us to say? I am willing to wait and see what happened, but I want to find out the truth about January 6th, and I don't think we're getting it, but what could solve it right now is if Nancy Pelosi would release 14,000 hours of videotape, we could see everything that happened, and we could all solve it, and it would be done, and we could just finish it up.
Let's talk Arizona.
Okay.
For the rest of this, and not really deal with the national scene. You win. Your first day in office. You're going to be facing some serious issues. Housing is going to be one of them. We're in a housing crisis now. You talk about don't California, Arizona. Well, we're already there.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? We have the potential in the coming months to have 80,000 people in the valley homeless. That's a lot. What do you do, Kari?
Well, part of the problem with our our housing. Part of the problem with our housing situation is that we have put growth ahead of smart growth. Growth at any cost. Open up a new plant, open up a new business, give them tax breaks that you don't offer Arizona businesses. They can bring in 500 people from California and they all need homes. Rather than opening up a business, if you're going to give tax breaks to a business, how about you say you got to hire Arizonans who are already living here? You ask anybody in this room, you ask anybody in Phoenix, and I would venture to guess 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 would say, we don't need to keep growing. I know the politicians love it. They love to just grow at any cost. They want to keep growing no matter if we have the water for it, if we have the resources for it, because they want the tax base. They want more taxes pouring in so they can keep spending money rather than saying, let's just be smart here. The politicians have gotten us into a hole. And you could look at our current governor, and trust me, I'm thrilled we have a Republican, because we saw what the Democrats did during COVID, and it was a disaster. A third of the businesses in Michigan shut down for good. And these weren't the big box stores, Mark. These were the mom and pop. These were people like people in this room who saved their life savings to open a business, and governors like Gretchen Whitmer, that was no pun intended, Gretchen Whitmer shut them down. Shut them down. So we have the same thing happen here.
What do you do here?
What we do here is we obviously need to build more housing. We have to build more housing, but we have to do smart growth. We can't just continue to bring people in and bring companies in, have them import 500 workers from out of state. So we obviously have a housing crisis, and you're not going to see it any worse than you see in these small communities. People are fleeing the cities, coming up to the small communities like Pine and Payson and Prescott, and the Californians are coming in and driving them out of the market, the people who are local, out of the market. Yeah, we need to build more houses.
Right, well, some of the most conservative Republicans are the ones that are, supporting this. Warren Peterson was the one who it was his bill 2 years ago.
Who was that?
Warren Peterson was the one 2 years ago whose bill it was to allow anybody who had a license, an occupational license, to come in and start working. And so there's been a lot.
Well, now that's a different issue.
There's been a lot of push.
That's a different issue, though. That's
Okay.
basically saying let's take the bureaucracy out of, let's take the red tape out of, let's remove the red tape between you making a living in Arizona and having to go through all this red tape. You've already earned your whatever you needed, whether it was a license or a diploma or some sort of licensing in another state. Let's remove the red tape. So that's a little bit different than a housing.
Okay, but water, and I listened to you on Glenn Beck, and you had some ideas there. Desalinization, building a pipeline, forming a blue ribbon task force. I don't think you used the word blue ribbon, but that's kind of how I got it. Smart, long-term, and costly. How do you sell that to a population who's looking right now, especially farmers, who are saying, we need the water tomorrow, yesterday?
We do, and our leaders in some ways have failed us. But it is expensive, you're right. But look at these multi-trillion-dollar bills that our lawmakers are passing in D.C. with all kinds of garbage and stupid stuff in them. And when you start to dig through it, you want to pull your hair out. It's so ridiculous what they're putting in these bills. We're looking $2 to $4 billion, perhaps. I mean, I'm just throwing that number out as a few people I've spoken to guesstimated a desalination project would cost in Mexico. It'd be great to work with California, but their regulations are so over the top, ridiculous, it would be almost impossible. And we could pipe water in. This is just one idea, and I'm not saying I have every answer, Mark, but
Nor am I expecting you to have.
But I'm open to hearing from people, and they don't have to be just conservatives. I want to hear from Arizonans.
Who would be on that blue ribbon panel?
Okay, this is the last question, because we have to get to our program here.
Then let me ask you this. Then. I know your positions on the vaccine. No masks, no mandatory vaccines, no vaccine passports. You're governor. We see the numbers going up. How do you control infection rates in Arizona?
Numbers going up doesn't mean people are seriously ill. Testing is one thing, and I'll tell you this, my husband, in the line of work he does, he probably had to have 15 tests last month, maybe 20 tests, because he had to be constantly tested. Each of those tests every week or two goes in as another case or a positive or negative. We've had COVID in our house, and it was like a regular cold/flu. The numbers do not mean people are in the hospital sick. We see numbers, I have a son who's asthmatic. We see numbers going up with the flu every year. In some cases, the flu is more deadly. I'm not going to shut down businesses. What Governor Ducey did was wrong. And when I say that, I'm not trying to be critical of him, because I don't agree with everything my own husband does. I didn't agree with Governor Ducey closing down the state twice. We saw people who lost their livelihood. They're just starting to come back. They're just digging out. And now they're reading the tea leaves and seeing what's happened, and they're going to have their businesses shut down. And you know what? Wait, don't interrupt. They're not going to shut their businesses down, Mark.
I'm not.
People are tired of it. They're not going to mask their children. They're not going to torture themselves again. They're tired of it. We don't need to do this for a virus, and we're not believing every single thing the media says or Dr. Fauci says.
But it's not the media that's saying this, Kari. It's hospitals that are saying our patient numbers are going up. Our demand is going.
Numbers go up during cold and flu season.
But Mike, when you're governor, what do you have to do? What do you think you should do as governor to bring down those case numbers, those rates of infection, if it still persists a year and a half from now? You walk in the door.
So what do they want? They want us to get more vaccines, Mark?
What do you want to do?
Right now, if you're fully vaccinated with 2, they're saying, oh, now we need a booster. So you need 3. And then you need 4. Where do we stop? It's a vaccine that
we get a flu shot every year, so I don't know.
Some people do and some don't. I believe in letting the people of Arizona make their choice. You lay out what the problem is, and you let the people of Arizona make their choice to protect themselves, to protect their family, to protect their businesses. And I hope to God that these business owners who've been tortured already won't shut their businesses down again, no matter what comes out of this. And I hope to God the pastors won't shut their churches down.
All right, you gave me more time than I needed.
Thank you. Pleasure to see you.